Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a deep dive into complex topics. Today, we're tackling blockchain. It's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? And more importantly, why should you care? I've got an expert here with me today to break it all down.
It's great to be here. Blockchain can seem like, this mysterious world of jargon, but at its heart, it's a pretty simple idea.
So let's start with the basics. What is blockchain? In a nutshell, what are we talking about here?
Basically, it's a digital record-keeping system, like a ledger. But instead of being kept in one place, it's distributed across a whole network of computers. That's where the chain part comes in. Each block of transactions is linked to the one before it. It creates this chronological record that can't be tampered with.
Okay, I'm starting to see the picture. And we're basing this deep dive on a report by Jörg-Owe, right?
Exactly.
And he really emphasizes this distributed nature of blockchain. He says that's what makes it so secure and transparent. But what does that mean for a business, for example, or, for everyday consumers?
It means you can trust the information on the blockchain. Take supply chain management. Imagine being able to track a product from its origin, all the way to the consumer, with every step recorded on the blockchain.
That's incredible. You'd know exactly where your coffee beans came from or, the parts in your phone.
Precisely. It could eliminate counterfeit goods, make logistics way more efficient, and really build that consumer trust.
It's amazing to think about how this could revolutionize so many industries. Now, Jörg-Owe, he also goes into the technical side of things, talking about blocks and hashes. Can you explain those without getting too technical?
Sure. Think of a block as a container for data about transactions. Each block gets added to the chain, and they're linked together using something called a cryptographic hash. It's essentially a unique fingerprint for each block, which makes sure any tampering is, immediately obvious.
So if someone tries to alter a block, they'd be messing with the entire chain, right?
Yeah.
Making it incredibly difficult to manipulate anything.
Yeah, exactly. This immutability, as Schnepp calls it, is a key feature of blockchain. And that's what makes it so attractive for those applications where, security and transparency are paramount.
Yeah, we've been talking about blockchain in general, but I know there are different types, right? Not all blockchains are created equal.
You're absolutely right. Schnepp outlines a few key types in his report. We have public blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're open to anyone. Anyone can join the network, see the transaction history, even contribute to the security of it.
So it's truly decentralized. It's democratic. What about those other types?
Then you have private blockchains, which are controlled by a single entity, maybe a company or an organization. Those are often used for internal processes where privacy and control are, they're more important than having everyone participate. And then there are consortium blockchains. Those fall somewhere in between. They're governed by a group of organizations, so they work well for collaborative projects. Imagine managing a supply chain between several different companies.
So there's a whole spectrum of blockchains, each with their own, strengths and weaknesses. It's not one size fits all.
Exactly. The different types of blockchains cater to different needs and priorities.
And that's what makes it so fascinating, right? It's not just about cryptocurrency. Blockchain has so many other uses.
It really does. It has the potential to impact so many different industries, from finance and healthcare to even art and music. And I think that's what makes it so exciting to explore.
Absolutely. We're just scratching the surface here, and there's so much more to uncover.
It's amazing to think about how much potential there is, beyond just the crypto world.
It really is. And Jörg-Owe, our source for this deep dive, he gives some great examples of how blockchain is already making waves. He talks about AIA Group.
Yeah, AIA. They're a huge insurance company, and they've actually implemented a blockchain system to share policy data with their banking partners.
So blockchain in the insurance industry. Makes sense in a way, right? There's so much paperwork and back and forth.
Right. And what they found is that it's really helped reduce those processing times, made everything more efficient. Plus, it increased transparency.
Efficiency and transparency. Two things we love to hear. Any other examples that really stand out from Schnepp's report?
Oh, yeah. MetLife, they're another big insurance company, and they're using blockchain to automate insurance claims. They're using these things called smart contracts.
Smart contracts. Okay, I've heard that term, but I'm not sure I totally understand it.
They're basically like self-executing agreements coded into the blockchain. So when certain conditions are met, the contract is automatically carried out.
So it's like a digital enforcer, making sure everyone sticks to the deal. It's pretty cool.
It is. And it really cuts down on the need for all that manual paperwork, speeds things up, reduces the chances for errors.
Gotcha. So we've got insurance. Where else are we seeing blockchain being used?
Well, supply chain management is a big one. Schnepphat talks about companies like VitChain and IBM's Food Trust. They're using blockchain to, really track products all the way from their source to the consumer.
Oh, like that farm-to-table idea, but with blockchain?
Yeah.
So I could, scan a QR code on my apple and see where it came from?
Yeah, exactly. You could see where it was grown, how it was transported, everything. It's about transparency, reducing fraud, and, even making sure things are sustainable.
It's amazing to think about how much information could be packed into one little QR code. It's a whole new level of knowing what you're buying.
It is, and it's really empowering consumers to make more informed choices.
This is all so fascinating. And it seems like, according to Schnepphat, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. What are some of the trends he sees for the future of blockchain?
Well, one big one is convergence. Blockchain coming together with other emerging technologies, AI, Internet of Things, things like that.
So imagine smart cities that use blockchain to manage resources, AI to analyze data, and IoT sensors to collect it all.
Exactly. Or think about personalized healthcare plans that are, tailored to your specific DNA, your lifestyle, and all of that medical data securely stored and analyzed on a blockchain.
It's mind-blowing to think about the possibilities. But I'm guessing there are some downsides too, right?
Yeah.
Schnepphat doesn't shy away from the challenges.
Oh, for sure. One big concern is scalability. As more people start using blockchain, these networks need to be able to handle, a huge volume of transactions. If they can't, things could slow down, get really expensive to use.
It's like that classic growing pains problem.
Right. And then there's the issue of regulation. Governments are still trying to figure out how to regulate blockchain. Businesses need clear guidelines and consumers need to be protected.
So it's a bit of a wild west out there, at least from a legal standpoint. Anything else we should be thinking about as blockchain evolves?
Well, there's this whole issue of interoperability. Right now, you have all these different blockchains, but they don't always, talk to each other very well.
So it's like having different languages.
Yeah.
We need a universal translator for the blockchain world.
Something like that. Imagine being able to transfer assets or information between different blockchains seamlessly. That would open up so many possibilities.
Makes sense. Are there any projects out there actually trying to do this, trying to solve that interoperability puzzle?
Yeah, there are. Schnepphat mentions Cosmos. They're aiming to create this sort of internet of blockchains where everything can connect and share data easily. And then there's Quant Network. They have a platform called Overledger that acts as a bridge between different blockchains.
So there are people working on solutions, which is encouraging. But I know Schnepphat also spent some time talking about the ethical implications of blockchain. I think that's something we can't ignore.
Absolutely. There are some really important things to consider as blockchain becomes more widespread.
Like what are some of those ethical concerns?
Well, one thing Schnepphat brings up is, inequality. What if access to this technology and the skills to use it aren't evenly distributed? It could actually widen the gap between the haves and have-nots.
Yeah, it's like any powerful tool. It can be used for good or for bad. We have to make sure it's used responsibly.
Exactly. And then there's the environmental impact. Some blockchain networks, they use a lot of energy. We need to make sure we're not, harming the environment in the process.
That's a good point. Sustainability is a big concern. So it sounds like blockchain really is this complex mix of potential and challenges. What are your big takeaways? What should our listeners keep in mind as they, think about all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway from Schnepphat's report is that blockchain is not a silver bullet. It's a powerful technology, yes, but it has its limits.
So cool.
Yeah.
Right. And we have to use it thoughtfully and carefully.
Another takeaway is that it's constantly evolving. What we see today is just the beginning, I think the next few years are going to be really interesting.
It's like the Wild West, like we were saying before, but in a good way. There's so much potential for innovation and disruption. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. So we've talked about what blockchain is, how it works, all the technical stuff. We've looked at some real world examples, some of the challenges. But for this last part, I want to talk about the human side of things. Because at the end of the day, technology is about people, right?
It really is. And, Jörg-Owe Schnepphat, he gets into this in his report. He talks a lot about the social and ethical implications of blockchain, the potential it has, to really empower individuals.
Yeah, one thing he talks about is financial inclusion, how blockchain could give people access to financial services, even if they don't have a bank account, people who are excluded from the traditional system.
Right. Imagine a world where anyone, anywhere with a smartphone could access, secure financial services, affordable loans. It could revolutionize things like remittances, sending money across borders. That's huge. And Schneepat talks about blockchain and voting too. Like, could this be the future of democracy?
It's definitely an interesting possibility.
Yeah.
Imagine a voting system that's completely transparent, completely secure, where voters could actually verify their vote on the blockchain.
Wow, that's really something. No more hanging chads or, questions about whether votes were counted accurately. But, Schneepat's not naive about this stuff. He points out that there are risks too, right? Like, if not everyone has access to this technology, it could actually make inequality worse.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to be mindful of that. We need to make sure that, the benefits of blockchain are available to everyone. And that means education, digital literacy, making sure people have the skills to use it.
It's a reminder that technology itself isn't good or bad. It's how we use it that matters. Exactly. And then there's the environmental impact. Some of these blockchain networks, they use a lot of energy, and that's something we have to think about as we move towards a more sustainable future.
Right. We can't solve one problem by creating another. So it seems like blockchain really presents us with this whole mix of, incredible potential and some serious challenges. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are your final thoughts? What should our listeners, what should they be thinking about?
Well, I think one of the big takeaways from Schneepat's report is that we have to be thoughtful about how we use this technology. It's powerful, but it's not a magic solution.
We have to use it responsibly.
Right. And we need, clear regulations, thoughtful development. We have to protect consumers, make sure things are fair, address the environmental concerns.
It's about finding that balance, right, between innovation and responsibility.
Exactly. And I think the future of blockchain really depends on the choices we make, as a society.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about us.
It is. It's about how we choose to use it, how we shape it.
Well, that's a great note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the technical side, the potential, the challenges, and now the human side. It's a complex topic, but hopefully, we've shed some light on it, given you some things to think about. And, like Schneepat says, this is just the beginning. The story of blockchain is still being written. So stay curious, keep learning, and, join the conversation. Thanks for diving in with us.